Have you ever played Crusader Kings 3 and thought for yourself, this is going a little bit too slow. I don't want to spend 300 years just to go from the lowest title of Count all the way to Emperor. Well, what if I told you there's a starting character so absurdly powerful, so completely game-breakingly overpowered, that you can do all of that in one single lifetime? My name is Koifish, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. And you might have figured it out already, but we're playing as Count Haesteinn, who usually calls himself a Jarl, but is actually just the leader of a small county here in Montague. Now when I say that this character is broken, I mean utterly, completely busted. Not only does he start with an excellent martial stat of 27, which gives him great bonuses like army toughness, more knights, and less gold maintenance for his armies. He also starts as a brilliant strategist, the best education in martial. He's a Viking raider. He has the veteran adventurer trait, which reduces the men-at-arms maintenance. Men-at-arms are these special soldiers, by the way. And yes, talking about special soldiers, he starts with 3,000 of them. Because normally, when you play as a count in Crusader Kings 3, you will have around 600 to 1,000 troops. But Jarl Haesteinn has 3,800. That is almost more troops than the entire kingdom of Italy and East Francia combined. And it's all because of the Count Haesteinn host. 3,000 special event soldiers that are unique to Count Haesteinn. He also starts with 3,000 prestige, as well as a trust fund of 570 gold. This, combined with some other mechanics that I'm going to explain as I go along in the game, make it so that he can declare war on any kingdom at the start of the game, and win. Perfectly balanced, as everything should be. I'm going to walk you through this strategy, so you too can enjoy the beauty that is Jarl Haesteinn. Now I have played Jarl Haesteinn a bunch of times, but I've never really stopped to think, wait, this guy is completely unbalanced. I've just reaped the rewards and had fun. Now I want you to experience the same thing, so I will be walking you through the steps on how to absolutely break Crusader Kings 3 as the best Viking in the game. To start off with, we're going to need babies. Not to make an army of child soldiers, but rather to secure great alliances. Now luckily for us, we're an awesome true Norsemen, meaning we can have 3 concubines. That is state-sanctioned side pieces for those that don't know. We want to pick those with good traits, and if you don't have good traits, we want them with high fertility, like Gudja Ylva here, who has the trait Fecund, which increases her fertility by 50. Very, very good. If you can't find someone with high fertility, avoid those with low fertility. This is pretty self-explanatory. And don't worry about picking your concubines. You can dismiss them without any penalties whenever you want to. That's why I'm allowing French people into my harem. Otherwise, this would be completely unacceptable. These, combined with my beautiful wife Vigdis, who is absolutely fine with me having 3 other women that I have sex with. No, seriously, she's that freaky. Will make it so that we can have a steady supply of children that we can marry off to other Norse lords and secure strong alliances. We also start with a kid, Ragnar Haesteinsson, who is very bossy and very quick of mind. We'll make sure to educate him, as he will be your future heir. We also want to set his education focus to martial. This is warfare, if you didn't know. Now you click find spouse and sort by alliance power. This will let us marry Aluf Sigurdsdottir, daughter of Jarl Sigurd Snake in the Eye, a powerful Viking warrior that will come to our aid whenever we need it. Send proposal. Now Jarl Haesteinn starts with a bunch of perks already unlocked in the martial lifestyle tree, but they've been randomly assigned, and let you say random isn't the best strategy. So we're going to reset perks. Now we can only do this once, and it's gonna cause a lot of stress, but I think it's highly worth it. Now you pick Chivalry Focus for that extra 5 advantage. Advantage determines how good you are when leading an army. Battle in Crusader Kings 3 is basically a bunch of dice rolls, and the higher advantage, the better your modifier, the better you fight. This only applies if your character is the commander in the army, but I'll explain that later. Now, you want to pick all the perks in Strategist. The ones we actually need are Organized March, for increased army movement speed, and Heavy Infantry Screen. I'll explain what Screen is later. We also need Hit and Run. This generally boosts your heavy infantry by a bunch of percentages, as well as reducing your retreat losses if you were to lose. But we're not. But the true diamond in the rough is Sappers. This will give all of our soldiers siege progress. Basically, they help out in the sieges, which is super important for Viking characters, as they don't have access to catapults. Lastly, we pick up Strategist. It's generally a great lifestyle trait to have, it removes the penalty from crossing rivers and straits, and we deal way more damage to enemy forces. With the perks you have left in the tree, you want to go Stalwart Leader, which reduces the risk of you commanding armies, lessening the chance of you to die. Chivalric Dominance, making your knights fight more effectively, and Never Back Down, letting you take even less friendly fatal casualties, and adding another +5 to your advantage. I know this seems like a lot of information, and it is, But just pause the video here and put out your perks exactly like I did. Now you might notice that there's a 7 over here, and that's because Jarl Haesteinn actually starts with a bunch of perks in the learning lifestyle. Now we want to live a long time, so we can inflict as much damage on the world as possible. Haesteinn is just that kind of a guy, so we want to get the whole of body, which will increase our health immensely. Pick up Wash Your Hands, Iron Constitution. These two combined will reduce the risk of you dying of some sort of wacky disease, like the plague or cancer. Next, we pick Carefree for reduced stress, and Mental Resilience that will let us be stressed for longer without throwing something at a random courtier. After this, there's only 2 perks remaining that we need. Healthy, which gives us a medium health boost, and Whole of Body, which is the same, but they stack. Very powerful. Now enough lifestyles, let's focus on our army. We start with 573 gold, and we can use this to get even more of the best troop in the game. What we need are Varangian veterans. Now you get the first one and then you increase their size. As we have 400 gold and these cost 135, we should be able to do it once or twice without breaking the bank. Now remember, men-at-arms regiments cost money, unraised and at full maintenance, meaning when they're raised, they cost even more. Now this can catch new players by surprise. You basically raise your army and you're all of a sudden losing gold. And if the war goes on for too long, yeah, you go broke. Not the best. We also want to station them. At the start of the game, you only have your capital, but it's gonna give them a slight bonus. Now as you can see, they have great damage and great toughness. Damage is pretty self-explanatory. It's how much damage you deal, and toughness is how much damage you can take. But pursuit and screen, they're a bit less obvious. In a battle in Crusader Kings 3, you don't fight to the death. You fight until the other side runs away. And when they do, it's your pursuit stat that determines how many of those fleeing enemies you can turn into dead enemies. Now to counter pursuit, you want screen. If you have high enough screen, even a loss won't mean that you lose any soldiers. And high enough pursuit means any victory of an enemy stack wipes their entire army, and you can simply conquer them as they have to replenish their troops very slowly. Now Koifish, I hear you say, I thought we were gonna break the game. But it takes a bit of setting up, and don't worry, there's only 2 steps left. But once we've done those, we're going to conquer the Byzantine Empire, one of the strongest, most prosperous and well-defended empires in the entire game. Those remaining decisions are pretty simple. We want to determine our personal deity, as we are a believer in the Asatru faith. And no, it's not Asatru or Satru or all the things I hear Americans say. I know I mispronounce words, but this is Asatru, meaning the faith of the Aesir. We have a few gods to pick from, but the one you want to do is Uller, the god of war and honor. This will give us a flat 3 martial as well as some bonuses when fighting in the winter, but that 3 martial is very powerful. Another great choice is Freyr, which increases our fertility, which means more babies, which means more alliances. Very powerful, but we'll go with Uller. Last but not least, we're going to invite some champions. This will send us 3 characters with 12 or more prowess that can fight in our army. Now for every point of prowess they have, a knight will deal 5 damage and add 10 toughness. On top of this, their effectiveness is also boosted by perks and in our case a holy site of the Asatru faith. Right now we just have 2 cocked Frenchmen fighting for us. We need more and better soldiers. So we're going to unpause the game and let it roll for a bit. Now remember, you reset your perks, meaning you're gonna get some stress, but you should be fine with picking this option. It will give you some extra stress, but because of your perks, you'll have 8 years until you suffer another mental breakdown. And here I thought video games was to avoid real life, but I'm having mental breakdowns here too. Now while we're gaining strength, this man is losing power, as he's currently defending against Sultan Muhammad ibn Ahmad of the Aghlabid Sultanate in a war for Sicily. This is going to weaken him and soften him up for when it's time for me to swoop in and steal his capital. And here comes a warrior, Ali. Fabulous he, Ali Ababa. But he's actually an Asatru Norseman, and he has 19 prowess. Now if you know your math, 1 prowess equals 50 damage. 50 times 19, in the end, that's a whole lot. So, what we want to do is to recruit him. It's gonna cost 25 gold, and this is where not spending all of it on Varangian veterans really comes in handy. Then you go in here and force him to become a warrior. Very, very good. You can also use these courtiers to marry in other women into your court. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, not only will they make more babies, which in turn becomes your courtiers, but it can also bring in women with great stats that can serve in your council, if your faith allows it. We also have Haesteinn, who has 20 prowess. Very, very good. We'll make sure to recruit him and set him up with a wife of his own. Very good. This woman can now serve as my spy mistress. Haesteinn will serve as my marshal. And now, just 1 year into the game, having set up our troops, having set up our champions, and more importantly, having set up our concubines, we can declare war on Basilius. I'm sorry, I mispronounced your title. Not that you're gonna have it for very long. Now, this man has a lot of troops to his name, but we are Haesteinn, and we're simply going to kill him. Now, when declaring a war, you need a casus belli, basically a reason for you to go to war. And luckily, Vikings more or less always have access to conquest, but also the Varangian adventure. This is a special type of war, which means that we try to move our entire realm to the war target. Long story short, if we win this, we abandon any holding we might have had before, and conquer any holding we have a war target for. And we're going to go for Thrace, because that is where Byzantium lies, the jewel of the East. And as you can see, with our ally, we have more soldiers than him, but more importantly, we're stronger. So let's declare the war. We raise all of our troops, we call our ally to war, and we make sure we have as many champions as possible. Now you want to be the commander. That is because Haesteinn is absolutely broken when it comes to fighting. On average, he has a commander advantage of 48. Now we're simply going to sail all the way to the Sea of Marmara. Get on the longboat, lads! We're going to steal so much olive oil, it's not even gonna be funny how slippery we're gonna be. We've now arrived, and there is the army of our enemy. Now, you've attempted to attack him outright, but we have some insane penalties of being recently disembarked. You fight with wet boots, you're gonna trip over. So what we want to do is to disembark safely somewhere else. And here comes our allies, just in time. Now, it looks like we're sadly gonna fight with that debuff anyways, but because we'll outnumber them with our allies, I think we're gonna be fine. Now, we have an advantage of 48, and the enemy commander has an advantage of 33. He has a lot of warriors, but our warriors are more effective. Now, this is a lot of information, and on top of that, this is a mod made by the wonderful modder Agami. This is what the battlefield will look like normally. It's actually not too bad, but it doesn't tell you all the information. But if you use the mod, you see that combat has a whole lot more things going for it. Now, to quickly explain, different men-at-arms counter each other. It's a bit like rock, paper, scissors. Now, they have a unique men-at-arms called the cataphractoi, the cataphracts. They are considered heavy cavalry, but they only deal 77% of their damage because they're being countered by my Varangian veterans. Varangian veterans are heavy infantry, but they counter heavy cavalry. In turn, their cataphractoi, being cavalry, counters my Vigmen, being archers. If you ever want to find out what counters what, just go to your men-at-arms and look here. Type archers, Vigmen counters skirmishers, and so on and so on. It can be good to study what sort of troops your enemy has, and picking your men-at-arms accordingly, or just get a bunch of Varangian veterans and roll with that. Now, sadly for us, this battle didn't turn out that good. We got completely wrecked, but that is no problem. We can simply come back and try again. When you lose a battle or lose a holding, you lose war score. Now, war score is determined who wins the war. When you reach 100, you get to enforce your demands, which is basically get the war target that you declared war for. But if you get minus 100 war score, you are forced to surrender, which usually means you have to pay a bunch of prestige as well as war reparations to your enemy. But if no side can win, and you feel like we should just call this quits and go back home, you can always push for a white peace. That means that no one really gets too heavily penalized. No enforcement or surrender is done, and you simply get to go home. Slightly ashamed, but that's what it is. Now, when you lose a battle, you're forced to retreat to nearest safe territory. In this case, the city of Mangalia, here in Bulgaria. I wouldn't exactly call that safe territory. We also lost a bunch of troops. Not good. But we'll simply regroup and get back in it. This time without the insane penalty of having recently disembarked. We're going straight back into it, and this time we're fighting the Basilius himself. Now, it's very prestigious to be a ruler fighting on the battlefield, but if you lose and get captured, the war is over, as you can't try to push demands from the inside of a cell. This time we don't have any penalties, and as you can see, we're absolutely wrecking them, especially with some reinforcements. Now, keep in mind, I am a lowly count, and I'm fighting the goddamn emperor of the Eastern Roman Empire. And just like that, we have evened the score and killed 1,000 of his men. Now, while the battle was going, our concubine gave birth to a little daughter. Now, with this daughter, we should be able to get an alliance. But Jarl Haesteinn has actually been nerfed slightly. Because we're so early in the game, a lot of the Viking rulers haven't had their children yet. So we have to wait until there is an eligible male heir or son of one of the Viking lords for us to marry into. So for now, we'll simply let her wait and be a kid, not a pawn in a political game. Medieval times were crazy, I'm telling you. We'll now go to siege Brises. That's not how you say it, but it sounds funnier if you do. Now remember, one battle won does not mean that the war is over, but it sure goes a long way. Now this yellow movement arrow means that we're trying to move here, but you see how theirs is grayed out? That means that they're locked and can't turn around. So if we push there, means we're gonna have a battle, and this time we managed to separate them from their main troop, and we beat them up swiftly. Very good! On top of this, we completely wiped their army. If you click details, you can see why. Our Varangian veterans did most of the killing, and our champions a decent amount too. This means we have weakened their army significantly. Very good. Now we move on to the siege phase. Now when you get captains like this, you can ransom them back for money. But you should look if they are worth war score, like for say if it's the son of the king you're trying to conquer the land of. This guy, however, is worth nothing, so we simply ransom him back. Now as you notice, we siege very slowly, and that is because we have no siege engines. But we do have some siege progress, and that comes from sappers, that perk I said you really needed. Now with the battle, combined with the 2 holdings we're holding, we have 49 war score. That's halfway to winning the war. Now the best thing would be to conquer the capital, but as we're going up against Constantinople with a fort level of 10 at the start of the game, comparatively to a holding here in Groningen that has a fort level of 3, that's more or less impossible. So what we need to do is to beat up their army and conquer another holding. He's currently defending in Crimea against Emir Isa ibn Ahmad of the Shaybanid dynasty. This is splitting up his forces and letting us have free reign in conquering his land. Very good. But it seems someone is plotting to kill me. Now, even though you think that it's the big blade that will kill you in a war, it's usually the little dagger. And if you go to relationships, we can see that we have a very powerful rival, King Charles the Bald, the man that owns West Francia. Now we can offset the chance of him killing us by going into intrigue and picking the countermeasure double guards. This reduces the success chance to murder us by a whole lot. So we simply have to pray and hope that we survive. And here is one of the co-conspirators. It's his wife. Get yourself a wife like Irmintrud that would help you not just hide a body, but create one. We expose her involvement in the plot. This means she loses prestige and gets massive amounts of stress. And stress can sometimes even kill her. In this case, it gave her a bad trait, contrite, meaning she suffers from a guilty conscience. Yes, you should. You try to kill little Haesteinn. When you reveal their involvement in a plot, they usually exit it, lessening the power of said plot. Now you remember, even your second sons require good raising, so make sure that all your kids have an educator, as you never know who might end up as your actual heir. And here we have a daughter. Very good, she's club-footed, which isn't exactly great, but currently there's no alliances to be had anyways. I guess it would be Björn Erikersson, but King Björn is still the king, and until he dies, it's not gonna give us an alliance, because this is the son of Erikir. Here's another co-conspirator. Our plot network is holding fast. We've now conquered a whole lot of territory, and we're 65% there on the way. We need a few more battles won, and then we're gonna be able to win this war. Now, because we're holding the majority of the duchy, we're actually gaining ticking war score. This is a way to make it so a war will inevitably lose or win. If we don't conquer anything and they don't conquer anything, they gain war score for simply holding the line. In this case, we gain war score for simply holding more territory of their land than they are. It makes sense when you think about it. Now it's just a matter of time before we will get the strongest duchy in the entire game. Now sometimes outside forces will mess you up, like the Egyptian band here that fights on behalf of another ruler. He will still try to gain power by sieging down land, so sometimes it's good to just teach these people a lesson, that we are the invaders here, not him. Very good. Now fighting a battle will gain us also through characters, prestige and piety, so it's worth doing, if only for the love of the game. Now you see how I was able to keep up the siege as I left? That's because there's this button, Station Besiegers, that will leave behind a contingent of troops that will carry on the siege, letting you take one part of your army to go fight and another to siege. Because later in the game, you have armies of 20 to 100,000 soldiers, and you don't need all of them to siege one backwater holding. Now, I'll pick up Serve the Crown, which will give me natural dread and natural control growth. Dread is how scared other characters are of you. You don't have to rule with love in Crusader Kings. Let's pick, for example, my concubine. She quite dislikes me, because she's French and I'm not. Even though she dislikes me, if my dread was high enough, she would still fear me and avoid doing hostile actions against me, as if she liked me. It is one thing to be respected and one thing to be loved. In the end, you can get the same results. We have found out what is going on. It is indeed my rival trying to kill me. But now, since I revealed the scheme, he has to stop, because murder is not legal. Egg on your face, you bloody Frenchman. Now let's finish this war. There we go. A lot of conquering, a few battles, and we now have 100 war score. Now enforcing this demand will mean that we leave France behind and gain the entire duchy of Thrace, including the capital of Byzantium. We also get some other fun bonuses. We stay feudal, we boost control, meaning we don't have to worry too much about revolts. You also get 500 gold because, why not? Vikings are strong enough as they are, but let's reward them a bit more. Enforce demands. Yeah, buddy, you're crying now, aren't you? Your low character is subject of Greek plays. Well, you Greek, you just got outplayed. This also increases our legitimacy. Now, legitimacy is basically how legitimate of a ruler you are. The only thing you need to know is that it has to be above the expected legitimacy limit. But the higher you can go, the better your bonuses, like increased chance of vassalization, basically another lord being independent, joining your kingdom without even declaring a war. Now, we rule the strongest duchy at the start of the game, Thrace. And it took us less than 5 years to do so. From here, we continue conquering. But it's good to raise a runestone, which is a specific thing that Vikings can do. This gives us a whole bunch of piety, a whole bunch of prestige, but also 100 legitimacy. Very, very powerful. We'll pick a conquest one, how we were able to win over Basilius. Now that we conquer land, we've actually gained some vassals, most of them being Republican vassals. Basically, they rule cities. So we can assign them to be our counselors. Now right away, we're going to do what the Norse do best, and that is to assimilate into other cultures. By promoting cultural acceptance with the Greeks, and clicking here on the Greek culture, once this acceptance hits 20, we'll be able to form a hybrid culture, meaning we can pick and mix between their culture and ours. But on top of that, we also discover most of their innovations, like the onager and the banus and public works. We basically create a hybrid between us. Very, very powerful. Now the war is won and we can relax. Just kidding, the Viking life is never relaxing, as there are always ways to further your realm. There's no downtime playing a Viking, you're always on top of the ball. We now take the gold we got and increase our troops, because we're gonna need these once the revolts start happening. But now, we're kind of broke. Luckily for us, there's a way for Vikings to make a lot of money. Raising our army as raiders. Now that's only 700, so make sure to raise your special event troops. These can also raid. Now we can't raid the Byzantine Empire because we have a truce with them. But we can raid Bulgaria. Simply walk into the territory and you will conduct a mini siege, taking a bunch of gold from the top holding. This also has a chance to give me captives, which is very powerful, as they can be ransomed back from anywhere between 10 to 50 and even 200 gold. Not that we really need money, as now our capital is coming to full effect, and we're earning a whopping 16 gold per month. We should also move our capital from Briseis, which was randomly assigned to us, to Constantinople. And our next goal will be to conquer all of Thessalonica, but to do that, we're gonna need a lot of gold. So, let's keep on raiding. Now you see that I'm trying to move into this territory. This is being blocked by a fort, meaning I will take attrition. So I will lose 115 soldiers randomly. This can be really bad, and the lower your martial stat is, the more casualties you take, so be very careful. It might be tempting in a war to just do this, but that would mean we lose 100, 100, 100, 100. It's very bad. But Vikings have a special bonus. As long as we walk by a major river, we don't take attrition, which will allow us to do some crazy raids. And one of the most profitable ways to do that is to go to Venetia. They are weak, we are powerful, and we can take their gold. Here we go, we have arrived in Venetia, and their holding has a potential of 44 gold, which is really powerful. Now when you're raiding, you're not only gaining gold every time you raid, you gain the same amount of gold in prestige, which is really important because we need to get to exalted among men. This is a level of fame, and it comes with some great bonuses. But more importantly, it gives us access to really powerful casus belli, war gods. Now we have a faction against us, and this is a military coup. It is peasants from Byzantium and Callipolis. Now, don't underestimate the power of angry peasants. They can spawn really strong armies, so you need to be careful about who you anger. The best way to stop a peasant rabble from attacking you is to take your marshal and use him to increase your county control. But sometimes you just have to crack a few peasant skulls. It's inevitable. Most of the hatred for us comes because we have low cultural acceptance and high fervor against our religion. Basically, Christians dislike the Asa True. We've also recently attacked them, which makes the populace not exactly like us. That's why we're trying to improve the cultural acceptance, but it's going very slow. Now, we're going to raid Lotharingia. Now keep an eye on how many troops he has, because he's gonna spawn an army to try and defeat you. This could in turn be a source of money, especially if you manage to defeat his armies. Now remember, a loss on the battlefield here could result in you not having enough troops to defend your homeland against other invaders or aggressors from your own land. It's all a balance of power. It is a strategy game after all, even as you're playing as a Viking. And as you can see from our raiding, we captured the wife? No, the mother of the current Doge of Venice. I have your mom, buddy. But we're gonna ransom her back for 50 gold. We don't need more moms, especially not Italian ones. Now, as a non-Viking character, if you want to execute one of the prisoners, it's going to cost you piety. But as a Viking, it actually gains you piety. And by killing this man, we can get 250. Very powerful. Bye-bye. Ritualistic sacrifice has never been so chill. And we'll keep raiding this target. And as it seems, we've gotten even more prisoners. 50 gold here, 50 gold there. Very good. Now you can raid as much as your raid capacity. Ours is 215 and is determined by a lot of factors, mostly your army size. There's also the matter of supplies. This is basically how much food you have. Every area has a supply limit, and if your army is too big for the current holding you're in, say cramming 1,000 men into a tiny swamp somewhere in Italy, they're going to be starving. So you want to try and avoid that, as starvation is not necessarily the best thing. I think we've raided enough, so we're gonna get back on the boat and go back to our holding to deposit the loot. Any friendly territory will do. Then we're going to see if we can get some strong alliances. The strongest nearby one would be with a Polish lord, as we are currently too far away to talk to the Swedes. Not good. But honestly, we might as well beat up the Bulgarians while we wait. But you can't start a war with your armies erased. So, let's get the raiders back home. Next, we're gonna move away from our warfare martial lifestyle and go back into learning to finish this tree to gain us even better health. This, combined with a special line of code that the developers put in to give Haesteinn a bit of extended life, is going to make it so that this Viking will be able to outlive most other characters, easily reaching ages of 100 plus. Unless he falls off his horse and dies early, that's a possibility. Now we deposit our gold, we disband our troops, and we see about picking up some light horsemen. Now men-at-arms also have a bunch of different terrain bonuses. For example, mounted cavalry really suck in mountains, even more so in a swamp. But they're really good on plains, while light footmen can easily maneuver in jungles, taiga, and forests. So it's all about finding the best troops for your terrain and picking battles where you want to be having them. So let's get some light horsemen, and let's see what we can take from Bulgaria. We have the ability to conquer one duchy, and we could take all of Philopopolis, which is a lot of land. He is quite powerful, so we should probably wait a bit to rebuild our troops, especially our levies. Now while we wait, we might as well hunt. Hunting is a great way to gain a lot of prestige. Now you want to look for a holding that doesn't have too much development. That's gonna give you the best bonus, like the hills of Kupsela. You want to pick a good caravan master, which will reduce the danger of traveling across the land. And as we have a lot of gold, we can afford spending more on our hunt, like a larger size party and more attendance to the very hunt itself. We'll also take this opportunity to slay beasts. If we end up shooting a deer now, we will get even more prestige. It's also good to assign these court positions, like Master of the Hunt, which will increase the success chance of a hunt as well. Now keep in mind, these cost 0.25 gold, 0.05 gold. Yeah, it can add up a lot. But if you rule a big kingdom like Byzantium, which you should be doing by now if you've been following along, you're gonna be just fine. Now we go hunt. We get to pick what we're hunting after. Now, the more dangerous an animal is, the more prestige we get. We're gonna hunt a boar. We like living dangerously. And when I say dangerously, keep in mind, you can easily die in a hunting accident, be it a predetermined murder or just a boar goring you to death. But here is Geoffroy, a Frenchman that somehow went along with us. Oh well, he has found a raptor. Not the raptor you think, but a bird. I asked him to put it back. It gives me prestige and also increases my success chance. But now we found some Greek poachers. We could hang them, but this is going to reduce popular opinion in our county, which is bad. It increases the risk of a revolt. But we're simply gonna tell them to heck off. This is my hill now. You can't poach my land. Mayor Don has spotted the boar, and now we decide how we go after it. Honestly, there is only one way to do this, and that is just going for it. Spears at the ready. Now if you're not playing on Iron Man, please save your game. We have finally cornered the beast, and now we decide on how to kill it. I could try to bring it down myself with spear in hand, and there's a 18% chance I die from this. 38 to be seriously injured. We could also move together as a hunting party. This reduces the chance of killing me, mostly because it splits that chance among all of our participants. Could be your heir, could be a really important character. You can also unleash a bunch of hounds. Honestly, spears at the ready, forward! We slay the beast. Very good. But Geoffroy has been brutally mauled. Yeah, buddy, that was happened when you joined us Vikings from France. The hunt was a massive success, and we get to keep a boar memento, which is a great little item. This gained us 675 prestige and 50 legitimacy, as well as reducing our stress. Very good. That alone has pushed us to become exalted among men, which means that we can now declare war for an entire kingdom. We could steal all of Bulgaria in one fell swoop. Now that is power. Now let's wait for our soldiers to recuperate their losses, and then we're going to attack the Bulgarians. I think I want to keep my invade kingdom, because keep in mind, you can only do this once per lifetime. There are ways to get around this, but for this video, let's just say one per lifetime. The duchy conquering, you can do how many times you want though. Now we want to get a kingdom title quickly, and to do so, we need to control 3 more de jure territories of this land. We'll also need 2 duchy titles, as we currently only hold 1. So we should be fine by just conquering the theme of Thessalonica. A good holding, and we wouldn't be connected by land, but it would be enough to let us form the kingdom. And this land is especially good, because if you go over here to additional map modes and look for economy and buildings, you can see that they have the Siderokausia mining settlement that gives us a whopping 3 gold per month, as well as the Hagios Demetrios, but since we're not a Christian, this building means nothing to us. So honestly, let's get some good alliances. And what's a better alliance than High Chieftain Tyre the Stranger, son of Jarl Haesteinn Whiteshirt, a former fellow Viking, now turned Russian. Will marry into his family, which will make him a great ally. There's also High Chieftain Vyacheslav Ruslanovich, the most Russian man I've ever seen. Now keep in mind, the Russians, they're basically Vikings at this point. So let's get these people allied up. And while we're at it, we might as well ally with the Moldavians. They seem like a good ally to have, especially since we're fighting the Bulgarians. Now alliances are very powerful, as you can call them in at the cost of prestige at an offensive war, but if it's a defensive war, it costs nothing, as they're obliged to defend you. Now keep in mind, they will call you into wars as well, and you want to accept it, otherwise you take a penalty to your fame level, so don't do that. Be a good ally. But with these allies, I feel confident that we can take a lot of land from this Bulgarian. Philopopolis, here we come. Declare the war. Now to call in allies, we simply go up here, call in allies, and the higher title he has, like for example, King Mstislav being a king, that's gonna cost me 350 prestige. While he's calling in a Jarl, despite him having more troops, he's only 150. So let's call in the Jarls. Keep in mind, Jarl, Duke is basically the same thing. It's different names for a title. Now let's try out our brand new army by raising our troops and pushing our way into the capital. Oh, they've arrived in our lands? Perfect. Here's a fun thing about Crusader Kings. Whenever you're fighting inside your territory, even if it's you walking onto them, it counts as you being a defender, which gives you all sorts of bonuses from the terrain. It's a bit silly when you think about it, but despite them being here at the siege, we get the bonus from the terrain being the hill. All you need to know is hills and mountains give defender advantage. It also decreases the speed you move. Now I'm given a nickname. They call me the Stranger, because I don't belong to this land. It's okay, buddy. I'll be here anyways. And let's beat these people up in the hill. I really don't think these Bulgarians are gonna get off scot-free, especially not as their commander is leading. Hopefully we can capture him. It's a low percentage chance, but just that battle alone, we lost 4 soldiers and they lost 1,500. That is the true power of Haesteinn being such a broken, busted character. You gotta love it. Now in an attacking war, your war score from battles alone will be capped at 50 war score. So you can't just keep winning battles, you need to actually siege. But if you're a defender, that thing is uncapped. So if you keep killing your enemies, you can make them lose the war. Now come here, let me beat you up. Now our heir has grown up, which is very good. We can actually marry him off to a lot of people. But since this is our heir, it could be beneficial to pick someone with good traits for him, as his children are going to be our next heir when Haesteinn dies. Possibly, depends on how long he lives. So you can sort by sum of all stats. You want someone that's young but still has good stats, and preferably traits that are, well, inheritable, like intelligent in Smimechna. You might also want to take a look at their actual personality traits and see if it's gonna be a good fit. This character is just, fickle and trusting, while Smimechna here is forgiving, paranoid and arrogant. Not the best marriage, but it will do. It also won't give us another alliance to manage, so it'll be good enough. Here we go, a good siege. And just like that, we have enough war score. 50 from the battle, 25 from the siege, and 25 for having captured his heir. Now this is why it's important not to use ransom every character you find, because this is the heir to the entirety of Bulgaria. That is a worthy hostage. Now we steal his land. Now we seize the territory, but we won't actually get any of the holdings. Instead, these characters that live here will become our vassals. Enforce demands. Now the land belongs to us, but it comes in the form of counts. And these counts will let you say they won't see favorably of us. Mostly because they're Orthodox, which is a form of Christianity, and we are also heathens. And they're Bulgarians, and our acceptance is very low. But there is a way to get around this. If we increase our autonomy law to limited crown authority, we are able to revoke titles. Now to do so, we need a reason, otherwise it's considered tyranny and we lose legitimacy. But if we just wait for them to rise up in open revolt, that is enough of a reason to then put them in prison, and then we can revoke their titles and put Norse lords in this new territory. Very good! Only 9 years into the game and we already have a massive duchy with a lot of power. We also have 8 children. That is plenty of alliances if we were to ever be threatened. And now, having conquered a bit of the Bulgarian territory, we can actually reach Sweden. So, we'll betroth our daughter to my friend, King Björn Ironside of Sweden. This will give me a good alliance. We can also ally with Chieftain Heljarskin of Toropets, a veteran adventurer. Whenever you find a chieftain like this with a lot of troops, you can be sure that this is a Viking adventurer. As you can see, he has 2,200 soldiers that are special. That's because he got these from a special casus belli. Still, he retains these until he dies, so he's a really good ally to have. Now, Bulgarian or not, some of these should still go in our council as they're quite capable. And if we go to domestic affair here on the Chancellor, we will actually get a vassal opinion boost over time, which is really useful to have. Dear God, we have a lot of children. We're gonna have to start raiding to pay child support. Now, our truce is running out with the Basilius, but a peasant revolt has just started. As you can see, this is no mere revolt. These are 4,000 angry men. So, we need to get our troops in order. And if we ever feel threatened, we could call in allies. And as you can see, this would not cost any prestige, as it's a rightful war for us to be defended in. But I honestly think we'll be fine with their own army, especially since the leader, Polycarpos, isn't exactly a great strategical mastermind. They're dead, revolt is over. Enforce demands. This sends him into prison. Now, if you ever wanted a really good commander, you could negotiate release and recruit him, as well as demand conversion. This would make him a pretty great commander. I think I'll do that. You fought well. It's time for you to get a better position. He can become a super good marshal. It's ironic, he went from leading a revolt to quelling revolts as the marshal of my realm. We can now usurp the duchy of Philopopolis. This will cost a bit of gold, but we will gain prestige. Now we can declare war on the Byzantines once more. We could invade for entire kingdom of Thessalonica, but I don't want to waste my invasions casus belli on this much land. If you check here, you can see which part is the most dense. Now just imagine every part of these duchies to be one war, and then a 5-year truce in between that. That's how you can plot out how much land you could realistically conquer in one lifetime. But consider that Haesteinn lives pretty long, we can get a lot of land. What I'm basically saying is, you should save your invasion casus belli for a kingdom with a lot of duchies. For example, Nicaea has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thessalonica has 4, other than the one we already own. That's why I think Nicaea would be the best to conquer in an all-out kingdom war. So let's do it. It's so much land. But to do it, we're gonna need a lot of piety. Luckily for us, if you remember, if we execute random characters, we get just that. And if you ever need more characters to kill, you can simply raise your armies as raiders. But I think I know exactly where I want to go. The papacy. I want to steal the hat of the Pope. And the Pope you have to be careful about, because despite having a small army, he usually gets a bunch of mercenaries, or worse, holy orders, whenever he's threatened. But now I'm being called a weird name by a random Greek man, a Borborophagos. That means mud eating. We have 3 options. We could become Greek and Orthodox, and the faction is disbanded. We can let them become independent, but no, we will kill them. As you can see, this is a populist uprising, but these 2 are actual vassals. And when they go against us, we have the right to imprison them if we win the war. And when we imprison them, we can steal their land. Now let's finish up this raiding. just in time for us to go back and quell any silly revolt that they have going. We also regain whole of body. Very good. Now we'll throw in our troops and we'll crush them. You can always assume that a revolt will have weaker troops than a normal enemy, but never, and I repeat, never underestimate them. There we go, dividing and conquering, enforcing demands. Now with the war done, we've also imprisoned 2 of our vassals. And because we increased our authority, we can now revoke their titles, as we have a reason to do so. And always after having revoked a title, check how much they're willing to be ransomed for, as if they have a lot of gold, even them being unlanded could net you 100 gold. But for this guy, we're simply gonna burn him to death. I'm telling you, being a Viking is very metal. Now we got more land than we can actually control, as our domain limit, basically how many direct titles we can hold, has gone over the threshold. That means we need to give away land. I think giving this land to our sons is a good idea. There you go, kiddo, enjoy. Now remember, never give away a title the same level as the title you're in. So if you give a jarldom as a jarl, that means that they become independent and they're not part of your realm. I've done that mistake a few times. Now, let's take a big piece of the Byzantine Empire. I want all of Nicaea. As this is a big one and I don't want to waste too many of my own soldiers, and I have excess prestige I can turn into allies, I'm going to call in Chieftain Dyre, Chieftain Urshlovish, and Jarl Haesteinn. We raise our troops and we make the crossing. Now, if you ever felt like you didn't have enough allies and needed a bit extra firepower, there's always mercenaries. And there's 2 kinds. The normal mercenaries, which is a unit you fully control. It's basically you getting some extra troops. But there's also special mercenaries. These are landless adventuring troops. They will act independently, as if you called in an ally. So we'll call in the polecats of St. Bridget. However, this man is asking for far too much for what is actually worth it. And funnily enough, this is actually a historical character, as you can see by this icon here. Constantine, the Paphlagonian, was a Byzantine eunuch and influential court official in the 9th century. He served the Parakomomomos, or Chamberlain, to Emperor Leo. That's interesting. But I'm still not paying him this much. This is also where we can find holy orders, but the Austro does not have any yet. We could fix this, but we need to reform the faith first. Alright, come here you Greeks! I'm gonna rip you a new one and steal your entire kingdom. And will you look at that? The Basilius is fighting outside again. Very risky. It seems like the new capital of the Byzantines is here, in Adrianopolis. So we'll simply siege that down and we'll be done with it. But remember, you need to take territory within the war goal. You can't just siege everything else. If you don't, he will keep getting ticking war score. Now that battle was rather decisive, as we ended up taking out a majority of his army. So now the Basilius only has 200 troops left, and we're pretty much safe to do whatever we want. That's the power of Jarl Haesteinn, now being called to a war by the Moldavian, so we'll absolutely accept. Doesn't mean we have to do anything, but it's good practice. And as an Austro warrior, it can be good to just join a war for the fun of it, as you do gain a lot of prestige and piety when you fight. Now with one more siege, that should do it. We have conquered all of the kingdom of Nicaea. Very good! The realm has grown. Now, we didn't get the title itself, but if we go in here, we can create it. The Kingdom of Nicaea. Being a king gives us access to a bunch of new things, but before we do that, we need to give away all of these titles. As if we unpause the game now, we get a massive penalty to our opinion, and all of our vassals will rise up. This is where having a lot of gold is really handy, as we can create a lot of these duchies and just give away the land wholesale. But since I'm a silly little bastard, I think I'm gonna give this land to my sons. This way I'm setting up for a massive infighting once I die, and I frankly find that hilarious. It is a good way to keep the land within your dynasty, and you can call in your dynasty members if you're the head of the dynasty, so it's basically a permanent alliance. Could prove to be really good in the future, but you know how sibling rivalries can be. There we go, all the land given out, and now we rule it. And any money we spent on the war, we can regain by ransoming characters. That's a lot of money. Now the Byzantines are in a bit of a civil war, which is interesting. If they lose this civil war, this counts as a new kingdom, meaning I can declare war on them without waiting for the truce. Being a king also gives us access to the royal court. It is generally good to reach the grandeur level expected of your kingdom. And as we have a lot of money, we don't have to spend that much gold to max out all of our court amenities. This will give us some nice bonuses, depending on our court type, and as we're warlike, this is really good. It starts at 9 effectiveness and ends at +1 to all regiment sizes, which is really powerful. Now there's a lot of wars to be fought here, but that's more prestige for me. Oh, and there's a civil war too. Perfect. Now we actually gain extra prestige whenever we fight in a war of one of our allies, as it's considered more honorable to do so. Are these the armies of West Francia? That's what you get for trying to kill me, buddy. I'll kill you. Alright, let's focus on this revolt we have. As you can see, they have a lot of troops, way outnumbering us. So, we need to be careful. We are powerful, but we're not immortal. And we want to wait for that recently disembarked trait to go away. It takes about 30 days, so keep that in mind. We're gonna back up a little bit, as we want to fight in favorable terrain. Alright, let's get in there and carve them up. This might be foolish, but I think we can do this. I'm being very cocky. We're going up against an enemy 10,000 troops larger than us. This will be a true test of Haesteinn's ability to govern. First army's been defeated, and they're trickling in. This is the ultimate position to be in, as they will not fight you with all their army at the same time. And just like that, we have divided, and we've conquered. Haba! Revolt over. Enforce the demands. Listen, you guys need to stop doing this whole leader thing. I don't want you to keep revolting against me. Now, my character is very stressed now, and that imposes a very bad, severe health penalty, as well as lowering my fertility. And if we reach level 3 stress, there's always a horrible, horrible chance that your character straight up dies from a heart attack. So, we're going to relax a bit by going for a feast. Feasts are really good for two things: increasing prestige, we're already pretty good well on that, and also increasing opinion with all of our courtiers. But if you just want to relax, you can just have a normal feast and save your money. Now, if you want to do this purely for de-stressing, pick this option. This is where I want to be. And that already solves most of our stress problem. And just like that, I'm no longer stressed. Damn, I wish this was as easy in real life. Now, whenever you rule a kingdom, you need to be crowned, as that bald head of yours, Haesteinn, truly needs a bit of metal. So, we'll arrange for a coronation to be held, over here in Byzantium. But to do that, we need a crown. So, we'll simply arrange for a man to be an antiquarian, meaning we have the ability to commission an artifact, and we want a crown to put on our head. You'll also randomly get court events, like how Rafen has had a dream that increases the quality of my crown. Very good! May Odin be with you, my friend. Now, when it comes to my learning lifestyle perks, I've gone for pedagogy, which increases my skill as a ward, basically educating my kids better. I also went with open-minded, which increases cultural acceptance gain. That's what we're trying to do with the Greeks. I want to get to learn on the job, which will give me 20% of the skills of my counselors, making me even more powerful. The crown has now been forged. It's not the best, but it is a crown. That means we can hold a coronation. And since this is an important moment, we're going to go all out. Now, there's a bunch of things you can pick here, like embracing supporters or weakening detractors, but I want to impress my attendees, so I can up my cultural acceptance, so I can hybridize with the Greek culture. It seems very complicated, but honestly, it's not. Start the coronation. That also gave us a dynasty legacy. This resource is called renown. You get more for having prestigious rulers, but you can also get it from being married. So if one of your dynasty members is married to someone high up, you get renown for it. This can be spent on dynasty actions. For example, I can claim his title using 150. I can also enforce a divorce between him and his wife, just because I'm the head of the dynasty. But if you don't spend it on that, you get dynasty legacies. These are basically super perks, and some of them can be immensely powerful. My favorites are kin, which gives you more fertility, blood, which increases the likelihood of you getting better genetical traits like strong, genius, and beautiful. Warfare just gives a general boost to all your warfighting, but as a Viking, we have access to pillaging. Seawolves gives us extra naval speed and way more prestige and fame from battles, as well as +1 prowess. But what we're truly after is practice kidnappers. More gold for ransoms. Let's pick this one. But as I'm about to be coronated, my wife is telling me that I'm a good husband. Wow, truly the male fantasy in this game. Vigdis, thank you so much. This is a magnificent brooch. Now, when you do a coronation, you will get these petitioners. They're basically asking for legitimacy, and this is honestly a great way to ensure that your realm is stable. Now, the ceremony begins, and as my character is ambitious, I get awed by a wondrous coronation to the County of Byzantium for 10 years. That's a massive bonus to the garrison size and popular opinion. Now I pledge to the Hofgothar. I supplicate the nobles. I appeal to the masses. I put on the crown, and so does Vigdis. And now we get to swear an oath. These are really powerful decisions that you can use to shape the future of your realm. And they come with some great bonuses. I think it's pretty obvious which one to go for. Expanding the realm. Now we feast. And that means the Greek-Norse culture acceptance has increased by 10%, meaning we'll soon be able to form a hybrid with this culture. Now to fulfill our oath, we're going to conquer the theme of Antolikion to get a whole bunch of these duchies. And now that it's so pitifully weak, we can simply bully the Byzantines into hell and back. Now keep in mind, this man has barely any troops, so it's very easy to do this. They have never gotten the chance to recuperate their losses after the first wars, and we just keep on hammering them any chance we get. And force demands, the land is ours. And we'll give this to Athathanios Marousumis. He's a Greek lord with decent traits, but most importantly, this will boost the Greek-Norse cultural acceptance. He's also an awesome true believer, so he's one of us. This means that we can now go to the Greek culture and hybridize with it, creating a new culture. Now we get to name it, and I think a fitting one for a Norseman serving in Greece would be Varangian. Now here is the important part. We can't go purely Norse, as that wouldn't be a hybridization. We instead have to pick a cultural heritage, either Eastern Roman or North Germanic, and a language, either Norse or Greek. A North Germanic heritage gives us access to raiding, pillaging, and a bunch of other things, while an Eastern Roman heritage gives us some other wonderful bonuses. I think we'll be more Eastern Roman, but we'll speak Norse just to confuse them. Now we pick traditions. The Greek culture have some really good bonuses. Imperial Tagmata gives us access to all of the unique Roman men-at-arms, but it completely cripples our knights. Roman ceremonies is also great if you want to be a ruler. This is basically all the extra flair around ruling Rome. And let's get northern stories. This way we are truly ready for all things to be Roman. Our aesthetic will be Norse, our name's Norse, but our architect Byzantine. And our outfit? Let's do a mix of both. This is truly a cursed mess between two cultures, but that's great. Not only will this stop all revolts against Greeks, as we'll have a higher acceptance between us and them now that we hybridized, but we also get these wonderful technologies. Form the hybrid culture. The Varangian hybridization. A new age, a new era, a new people. We can now blind prisoners. As a Viking, however, you can do one more thing if you have a prisoner. Dismiss one of your concubines and simply get a new one. I'm basically stealing this guy's wife. Thank you. And now I can uphold my oath after having conquered enough land to expand the realm. This gives me great bonuses to development and control. Very nice. Now I have the ability to prepare the Greek fire dromuns. That's really good. We can protect ourselves. To work, my alchemists. Now we have the ability to form onagers as well as ballistas. But I really like onagers because those let me siege a lot faster. Very good. Now we need to set our sights on that big empire title. You might have noticed that Jarl Haesteinn is the ripe old age of 74, but his health is still fine. So we're gonna keep on trucking and create an empire. But I don't want my empire to be small and pathetic. I want a big one. So let's start picking off some big targets. The Duchy of Bulgaria holds a lot of titles. Let's get that one first. Even though I'm fighting for this territory, I'm gonna try to steal his capital. If I can capture him right away, that's the war over. No siege done, except for the capital. One siege, and that's already more than half of the war score. Now we fight a simple battle, and the war is already over. Just like that. Enforce demands. And we give this to our little son. Here you go, buddy. You now rule Bulgaria. What a responsible father I am. We also need a chief eunuch for some reason. Why do we need a guy designated to not have a ball sack? Is that imperative to the goddamn rulership of our nation? I guess so. I think we're well off taking the Duchy of Latium, stealing all the land from the Pope. It's a bit of a power move. Let's see how it pays off. We'll also bring in a lot of allies for this, as this could be a really tricky war. Hey guys, my kid is married to your kid. Let's go beat up the Pope. That's literally medieval politics. Sunni Firdi. Who cut off your ball sack? I don't know, but you're my court eunuch now, and he instantly arms himself. A man attacked him with a blade once, and he lost his manhood for that. Now we move for the Pope. He has a lot of troops, most of them mercenaries and some of them holy orders. But we have a bunch of angry Norsemen that owe me a blood debt. And that means something more. And let's land carefully. As you can see, we're splitting them off on either side, which is bad because I'm being caught out. Oh no, this might be really bad. Our allies sort of abandoned us. and we're fighting with wet boots against some of the best mercenaries in all of the Christian world. They killed my son! No! Prince Ögmunder! He was slain in battle! Now, if you don't want your sons to be slain in battle, you can't forbid them from being champions. If you're a goddamn coward. Real Vikings let their kids fight. Now, our armies did get whipped by the Pope. That's what I mean by he's very powerful. So, we'll hope to regain our forces together. But instead, my ally simply runs in and gets killed, and we lose the war. God damn it. I just paid 1,000 gold to the Church of Christ. That's not the type of donation I wanted to do. Now we can pick some accurates. These are special super soldiers. I want to pick someone with a Vanguard, as this will boost my Varangian veterans. After that, Valiant is really good, as it increases army damage. These are a pain in the ass to manage, I'll just be honest, but they're gonna be upgraded soon in the next update. And by that time, this is not gonna be relevant, so figure it out then, I guess. But being a part of Greek politics means I have to deal with Greek plotting. And now someone's trying to kill me. I wonder who it could be. I do have a few rivals that are still alive, so I think I'm safe going into redoubled guards, as well as getting some loyal bodyguards. I just really don't want to die. But death won't stop me from attacking the Byzantines even more. We'll go for Thessalonica. There's a lot of riches to be had there, and I want them. I want those riches for myself. And as we now have siege engines, we break these walls swiftly. And we managed to create Greek fire. I see. This means that if someone passes this strait, we can blow them up with literal medieval napalm. Ain't that cool? Like here, there's 100 people here. We could blow them up. But no, we won't risk the fleet. It's just 100 guys, let them be. We can't blow them up just like that. Let's beat up the Byzantines. Come here. Thessalonica is ours. Now, taking down the empire piece by piece, that's fine. You can't demolish it brick by brick. But there's actually a way to take it over from the inside, and that is through the unholy means of joining them. Now, to get more legitimacy, we'll form all kingdoms available to us. That would be Thessalonica and Nicaea, as well as Anatolia. We are allowed to hold multiple kingdom titles. Just know that if we die before we're an emperor, all of these titles will split between our kids. You know what? Just because I feel like it, we're gonna forge the Vikings. And to do that, we need to conquer any coastal territory on one of these Baltic coastlines. So I think we gotta take it from Poland. We can reach them because we have immense reach. And we'll go for the High Chiefdom of Pomerania. That seems like a good plot of land. Declare the war. Now we raise the troops. And then we travel through sea. We're gonna go all the way up here to go for this territory. We'll simply use the rivers to get up here. And then we go to town. Very good. Now when fighting tribals, we can easily just power through them. And as soon as we see an army, we go and swiftly defeat them. There we go. Pomerania has been conquered. A fun little side quest before we go to take the Byzantine Empire. Now we're going to have to incur a little bit of tyranny here, as I'm going to revoke the Jarldom of Pomerania. He won't say yes, which means he's gonna rise up against me in open revolt. So if I have my soldiers ready, I can easily defeat him right away. And just the act of him rising in rebellion against me is enough for me to take the rest of his duchies. Honestly, medieval law is kinda whack like that. There's no such thing as self-defense against your liege. You're used in open revolt, buddy, and that's illegal. One more siege, and that should do it. Enforce demand. He's now in my prison, and when you're in the prison, you can't really say no, can you? Take all of his titles. That makes him unlanded, and even worse, that makes him ritualistically sacrificed in a public execution. Bye-bye! Now we have the ability to form the Vikings. A very own holy order for ourselves. Our truce is now over with Basilius, which means that it's time for me to swear fealty with religious taxation, which means I become a vassal of his empire. Then, I simply go here and claim my liege's title. Now I can do this because I own more than half of his de jure lands, his lands by right. But if you don't do that, you can use the scheme to claim his throne. And you can do this with any liege. To be able to do this, you need to have meritocracy. It's the first perk in Administrator, in the stewardship lifestyle, and it helps to have domain focus. But we can simply claim it outright. Give me my empire, you absolute coward. Now I can launch it through a faction. This way, I give him a chance to just outright give it to me without bloodshed. Either he's foolhardy or he's stupid. But for now, we press our demands. Give me the empire, or give me death. Death it is. If we win this war, then we will have become the true ruler of the Roman Empire. And because we created Jomsvikings, we can now call in the Jomsviking pirates, 1,000 warriors and Grandmaster Dyring. This is the big one. This is the one we've been waiting for. We're going to push away to their new capital in the holding of Sebastia. Now we need to be quick because they have a peasant uprising, but with our combined might and our new siege weapons, we can take this holding really quickly. Now we'll go for a fight. Hopefully we can take a worthy commander and kill him. But now he took the county of Byzantium. You bastard! I'll take it back, don't you worry. What? I captured him! I captured the Basilius Callistos the Lion. You took my capital, I took you. Enforce demands, meaning we get the Byzantine Empire and all of its themes. And a whole lot of vassals. Enforce demands. Imperial recognition, which means that we have, in 33 years, turned this one county Viking to the Emperor of the Byzantine Empire. Glorious! We simply reclaim Constantinople and back it goes to us. The new Emperor of the Byzantine Empire, I can't believe it! This also means that we have some wonderful artifact, like the crown of Justinian, and the image of Edessa, which doesn't really mean anything because we're not Christians. Glorious! Now we simply drive out these invaders. Listen buddy, the Byzantines are under new management, and this one actually cares for its subjects. We are now at peace, and we can take some rather interesting decisions. My first one is to found the Varangian Guard, which is ironic because we're technically Norsemen. We just happen to have become the Greeks. Start recruiting. This also means that we can now recruit Varangian veterans. We'll also hold a triumph, which is basically just me riding and being a cocky bastard after having taken their land. We'll hold a speech. May Tyr guide us! Imagine in the Hippodrome, all the Greek Romans, all the Greeks of the Byzantine Empire just looking on the plebeians, and then this bald Viking guy with a Danish accent steps up and goes, yeah, so I dedicate this victory to Tyr and my homegirl, Emperor Vigdis. And they believe me. Long live the glory of Constantinople. Very good! From here, we have the ability to restore the Roman Empire, but that seems a bit excessive for a video where I'm basically just showing you how broken Haesteinn is. I mean, isn't it broken enough to have gone from a count to the Byzantine Emperor in one fell swoop? I don't know what is. However, what we can try to do is to have another coronation, because now we're an emperor. So we need to do it all over again, which I will gladly do. And so the ceremony begins. The second time I ride into Byzantium as an emperor. And this dwarf, she is like, yeah, you gotta pledge to the Hofgothar. And I twist the words in my favor. But now, the Greeks I took land from, they're very angry. Behold, traitors, the might of your emperor. I can duel them to the death. That's probably the most Viking thing I have ever seen. Therefore, it must be done. A duel to the death against a disloyal vassal that dares to talk to me. Listen, my friend, times have changed. The debate is now a duel. Strike parry riposte. You are toast. I duck low and I snatch a handful of grit and hurl it straight into his face. And then I stab him in the stomach. As he topples backwards in the middle of the coronation, he bleeds out. Goodbye, Strategos Tiberius. Please, don't talk smack. And now everyone seems a bit more excited to plead for my rule. And Vigdis gets to swear 1 second off. Now we feast. All we ask is for good opinion for our vassals. My reign has begun. And so, my subjects don't seem to hate me too much. What we're going to do now is something very silly. We're going to demand conversion from all lords that aren't Asatru. There really should be a button that asks for all to convert, but there isn't, because Crusader Kings 3 hates us and wants us to suffer. But that's fine. It's a perfect moment to just relax and enjoy your carpal tunnel syndrome, as you click for all of your vassals to slowly but surely convert to your religion.
3 days later.
Dear God, are we not done? Here we go. Let's see what they say. Some say yes. Some bargain for a weak hook. We won't accept that. This person wants gold. We can't afford that. If there's one thing we have a lot of, that's money. And that, my friend, is where I'm gonna end this video. A glorious conquest from Count to the Byzantine Emperor. All within one lifetime. Less than 36 years. Now I hope you enjoyed this video. It was more of a tutorial style, but also used to showcase how utterly broken Crusader Kings can be when you play with the right characters. So I honestly recommend that you follow along with this video and try this adventure for yourself, because this is an amazing way to set up for a glorious long dynasty, where Haesteinn and his 14 children can all frolic around in the Byzantine lands. I have been Koifish, hope you liked this video. If you did, leave a like, consider subscribing, and check out the next one. It's right here on the screen. Oh, you don't want to miss this one. Alright, I'll see you guys in that one. Bye!